Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is May 30th. On this day in 2005, 18-year-old Natalee Holloway vanished during a high school graduation trip to Aruba. Her disappearance captivated international attention and remained a mystery for nearly 2 decades. Today, we'll explore the events surrounding Natalee's disappearance, the subsequent investigation, and the eventual confession that provided long-awaited answers. Let's get started. Natalee Ann Holloway was born on October 21st, 1986 in Memphis, Tennessee. She grew up in Mountain Brook, Alabama. Known for her bright smile and infectious personality, she was well-liked and had a bright future ahead of her. Natalee was dedicated to her studies and was headed to the University of Alabama with a full scholarship after graduating with honors from Mountain Brook High School. She dreamed of studying pre-med or business. They were big ambitions, but they were ones that her family and friends believed she would absolutely achieve. To celebrate her graduation, Natalee joined 124 classmates for a senior trip to Aruba. It was a rite of passage for many and a time to relax and enjoy one last hurrah before adulthood beckoned. They arrived on the island on May 26, 2005 and checked into the Holiday Inn near Palm Beach. Though 7 adult chaperones accompanied the group, the students were given a fair amount of independence, and they were free to explore and enjoy Aruba's nightlife. On the night of May 29th, Natalee and her friends went to Carlos and Charlie's, a lively nightclub in Oranjestad. Witnesses later recalled Natalee drinking and enjoying the festivities. She was chatting with friends and just celebrating the moment. Among those she was seen with was Joran Sloot, a 17-year-old Dutch honors student from a well-known local family. Sloot was a familiar face at the club and often mingled with tourists. Around 1:30 a.m. on May 30th, Natalee was spotted leaving the club with Sloot and his friends, Deepak and Satish Kalpo. Witnesses, including her classmates, described her as getting into Deepak's silver Honda willingly, likely trusting the group because of Sloot's reputation as a local. According to the trio's initial statements, they drove Natalee to the beach near the Marriott Hotel, where she and Sloot shared a private moment. Sloot later claimed that he left her alone on the beach while he and the Kalpos drove off. However, conflicting accounts and surveillance footage showed that Natalee never returned to her hotel. When she didn't show up for her flight home later that day, her friends and family knew that something was wrong. Her hotel room was untouched, and her packed suitcase, passport, and personal belongings were inside. Hotel staff confirmed that they hadn't seen her return. Her mother, Beth Twitty, was notified almost immediately. She boarded a flight to Aruba the same day, accompanied by her husband, Jug Twitty, and friends. Upon arrival, Beth confronted Sloot at his family's home. She later described the encounter as surreal, with Sloot calm and unbothered by the gravity of the situation. Despite initial cooperation, Sloot and the Kalpo brothers' stories soon started to change. First, they claimed that they dropped Natalee at her hotel, but surveillance footage disproved this. Later, Sloot insisted that they'd left her at the beach, but there was no evidence to back this account up. An intense search for Natalee followed. Hundreds of volunteers, local police, Dutch Marines, and even FBI agents scoured the island. They searched beaches, forests, even landfill sites, just hoping to find any trace of Natalee. Divers explored offshore waters, helicopters hovered above, but nothing turned up. Despite the scale of the search, she seemed to have just vanished. The case quickly drew international attention, and Aruba became the center of a media storm. Sloot and the Kalpo brothers were arrested on June 9, 2005, 10 days after Natalee's disappearance. Aruban law, which is based on the Dutch legal system, required strong evidence to justify prolonged detention. So without any physical evidence, remember they had no body and no forensic evidence, of anything, the suspects were released on July 4th, 2005. They were then rearrested in August and in subsequent years, but no solid case was ever able to be built against them. Meanwhile, the search for Natalee continued. Authorities drained pond, searched the landfill, combed through forests, and even used cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar. Each search ended in frustration. One promising tip led to the draining of a pond near the Marriott, but it yielded nothing. Witness accounts also proved to be unreliable. Locals and tourists alike offered conflicting reports. Some claimed to have seen Sloot and Natalee near the beach, and others described seeing suspicious vehicles. But no eyewitness account ever led to a breakthrough. In 2008, Dutch journalist Peter R. de Vries secretly recorded Sloot admitting that Natalee died accidentally after they went to the beach and that he had disposed her body in the ocean. However, Sloot later retracted this confession, claiming that he was lying. Without corroborating evidence, Aruban authorities couldn't pursue charges. Then, in 2010, Sloot decided to try extortion on Versailles. He demanded $250,000 from Beth Twitty in exchange for revealing information about Natalee's remains. After receiving an advance under FBI surveillance, Sloot provided false information about her burial site. Then he fled to Peru, where his reign of terror continued. On May 30th, 2010, exactly 5 years after Natalee's disappearance, Sloot killed Stephanie Flores, a 21-year-old Peruvian student, in his hotel room. He was arrested days later. Sloot was convicted of her murder in 2012 and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. Despite his conviction in Peru, Sloot continued to evade justice for Natalee's case. But in 2023, a breakthrough came. He was temporarily extradited to the United States to face extortion and wire fraud charges stemming from his 2010 scheme. During these proceedings, his attorneys negotiated a plea deal. In October 2023, Joran Sloot confessed to killing Natalee Holloway. In his confession, he revealed that after leaving the nightclub, they went to the beach, where she resisted his advances. He struck her with a cinder block, killing her instantly. Then he pushed her body out to sea on a makeshift flotation device. This confession confirmed the long-held suspicions of many, though it came too late for a murder prosecution in Aruba. Sloot was sentenced to 20 years in U.S. federal prison for extortion and wire fraud to run concurrently with his Peruvian sentence. Natalee Holloway's case sparked global conversations about missing persons, media coverage, and justice abroad. Her mother, Beth Twitty, became a fierce advocate, founding the Natalee Holloway Resource Center to help families of missing persons. The intense amount of media attention highlighted the disparities in coverage of cases involving young white women compared to other missing persons. In 2012, an Alabama court declared Natalee legally dead. Beth and her family still grapple with the immense grief of losing her. Though they finally got the answers they were seeking, nothing can change the fact that her family was robbed, not only of Natalee and her bright future, but also of the chance to ever properly lay her to rest. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found Natalee's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day, True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!